20,000 documents from Jeffrey Epstein's estate have been released for all to see. They feature Donald Trump, the former Prince Andrew, Peter Mandelson, and of course, Epstein's girlfriend and co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell.
It started with a sound Washington knows too well, a single notification ping, echoing through a nearly empty congressional hallway. At 9:14 a.m., House Democrats quietly uploaded a new batch of documents, Epstein's emails. More than a dozen of them. No warning. No press release. Just a digital drop that felt like a political bomb going off in slow motion. At first glance, nothing unusual, but then, one line changed everything. Jeffrey Epstein. Writing casually to Ghislaine Maxwell in 2011, Trump spent hours here with the girl. He knew, no hesitation. No explanation. Just he knew. Within minutes, the West Wing was in chaos. Staffers scrambling. Phones exploding.
Epstein says to Maxwell, "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Virginia spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there." Now, Virginia is Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's victims and the woman in that now infamous photo with Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
Republican lawmakers demanding to know why Democrats released these emails today, the same day the shutdown fight ended. But inside the White House, a different storm was brewing. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt burst into the Oval Office holding a printed copy of the emails. Trump looked up from his desk, annoyed. "More Epstein garbage?" he muttered. But when his eyes reached the line, Trump asked Ghislaine to stop. His grin faded. Outside, reporters were already shouting questions. But inside, Trump was whispering something to Leavitt no mic could catch. "They're trying to take the shutdown. Win away from me. We hit back, hard." Meanwhile, across town, House Republicans released their own counter leak. 20,000 files from Epstein's estate. A digital flood to drown the Democrats' carefully chosen emails. But it was too late. Cable networks had the headline. Twitter had the screenshots. And by noon, the country had the story. Did Trump know about Epstein's girls? Leaked emails suggest. Maybe. Except Washington insiders noticed something even stranger. Someone leaked an email that wasn't supposed to exist. An email where Epstein calls Trump the dog that hasn't barked, and in this town. That phrase means one thing: something big is being hidden. Bigger than the shutdown. Bigger than the rivalry in Congress. Bigger than anyone was ready for. And someone wanted the world to see it. Someone inside Washington. Washington was already shaking, but by afternoon, the tremor turned into a full-blown political earthquake. Because buried deep in the second batch of leaks, hidden between meeting reminders and private jet itineraries, was something no one expected: Epstein emailing author Michael Wolff in 2019. Of course Trump knew about the girls. Those 7 words ricocheted through every newsroom in America. But here's the part the public didn't see, the part that slipped into the leak. Without any explanation, a private note from Wolff back to Epstein: "If Trump lies, use it. Hang him with his own words." Within minutes, conspiracy theories multiplied. Was Wolff plotting a media trap? Was Epstein trying to blackmail Trump? Or was someone else pulling the strings even back then? No one had answers. But someone suddenly did. A senior House staffer, speaking anonymously Washington code for "I want this out there," whispered to reporters this wasn't a random leak. Someone is curating these emails. Curating, meaning someone is choosing what the world sees and what it doesn't. And that's when one name started drifting through private conversations on Capitol Hill. Larry Summers. Not because he was guilty of anything, but because another email surfaced from 2017, where Epstein told Summers, "Your world does not understand how dumb Trump really is." Washington insiders weren't shocked by the insult. They were shocked because the email proved something else. Epstein wasn't just gossiping. He was mapping alliances, studying weaknesses, manipulating power. A puppet master who kept receipts. Meanwhile, Trump erupted online, firing off a Truth Social post: "The Epstein files are a hoax." Democrats trying to distract from their failures. But behind closed doors, witnesses say Trump's mood was different, tense, agitated, almost rattled. Because there was one email, a single one, that his team could not explain away. An email where Epstein wrote, "Trump asked me to resign. Never remember ever." A lie? A truth? The half-truth? No one knew. But White House lawyers scrambled to understand what Epstein meant, why he wrote it, who he sent it to, and most importantly, why that email suddenly appeared now. As evening fell over Washington, one thing became clear: these leaks weren't random. They were targeted, timed, weaponized, and someone was sending a message. Not to Congress, not to Democrats, not to journalists, but to Trump himself. But then out of nowhere came the moment nobody was prepared for. A moment that didn't just change the tone, it changed the room. As Kimmel wrapped his monologue, he paused, looked straight into the camera, and said, "Mr. President, you might want to take this next call." The audience went silent. The producers froze. And Biden smiled. Because this wasn't comedy anymore. This was strategy. Sources backstage say a message had just been passed to Biden's team. A message from inside Trump's own inner circle. Something so explosive, so destabilizing, that even Kimmel reportedly said off-air, "If this gets out, it's over." And while Trump was rage tweeting into the early hours of the morning, insisting he wasn't owned by two old guys on network TV, he didn't know what had just been discovered behind the scenes. He didn't know what was already moving toward him. He didn't know what the next 24 hours were about to unleash. Because the Biden-Kimmel moment wasn't the punchline. It was the countdown. By sunrise, Washington was vibrating with rumors. Reporters refreshing encrypted inboxes. Campaign staffers suddenly canceling interviews. And on Capitol Hill, one senior aide was overheard saying only two words, "It's real." Because overnight, what started as a late-night joke had mutated into a political storm. A leak, small but unmistakable, had reached 3 major newsrooms. Something tying Trump's latest campaign meltdown to something far older, something buried, something he thought would never resurface. Meanwhile, Biden kept quiet. Not a single comment. No press release. No victory lap. That silence terrified Trump's team more than any punchline on Kimmel's stage. Because Biden's restraint meant one thing: he was waiting. And when a president waits, everyone else panics. By mid-afternoon, Trump advisors were reportedly scrambling, making frantic calls to donors, lawyers, even former staffers, trying to find out what Biden knew, what Kimmel hinted at, and what was about to break. But they were already too late. The story wasn't coming from Biden or Kimmel or the White House. It was coming from somewhere Trump never expected, somewhere inside his own world. And when it finally hit the surface, it wouldn't be quiet. It would be seismic. And just when Washington thought the chaos had peaked, it happened. A single document. 23 pages. No watermark. No signature. Delivered anonymously to 3 major networks and 1 late-night studio. Inside, something no one expected, not even Biden's team. Producers at Kimmel's show reportedly froze mid-rehearsal. Phones stopped ringing. Everyone stared at the same line. The same detail. The same name. Donald Trump's. Within minutes, the White House Situation Room went dark to the press. Staffers locked down communications. Secret Service shifted schedules. And Biden still said nothing. Not a word. Not a tweet. Just silence. Which made the leak even more dangerous. Because if Biden wasn't speaking, if Kimmel wasn't joking, if Trump's team wasn't denying, then whatever was inside that document wasn't political. It was personal. And according to one senior official who spoke off record, the final page contains something so explosive, it could rewrite the entire shutdown narrative and the 2025 race itself. But here's the part no one has seen, the part sources say is being uploaded right now to a secure server, ahead of a public release. A release scheduled for